Well, despite soaring gas prices, a record-setting number of Americans are expected to travel this 4th of July weekend.
That's according to AAA Northeast, which reports nearly 48 million people will travel more than 50 miles for the holiday. So what should you expect if you're hitting the road this weekend? For that, we're joined by AAA's Robert Sinclair. Great to see you. Thanks so much for being with us.
Mr. Sinclair, good to see you. Robert, let's talk. AAA reports the average cost for a gallon of gas in May was $4.50. That's up nearly $1.50 from this time last year, and it's the most expensive gas has ever been during this time period. But still, a record-breaking 42 million Americans are planning to hit the road this weekend. So why do you think people are saying, you know what, I don't care if it costs that much money to fill up the car, I'm going anyway?
Well, I think a couple reasons. Folks have cabin fever from being cooped up for 2 years because of COVID restrictions. And they're seeing a lot of what's going on with the airlines with delays and cancellations. And I think there's probably a last-minute surge of those driving because of all the problems that we're seeing with those who might want to fly. Yet and still 3.55 million will fly. But as a percentage of those who are going to travel, that's the lowest it's been since 2011. 7.4% of all those who will travel will fly, and that's pretty low in the grand scheme of things.
And with so many people driving, what do you think? When is the best time to get on the road to avoid traffic?
Probably right now.
Yeah. Is it possible?
The worst time is going to be today from 2 to 8 p.m., tomorrow from noon until 9, and Saturday from 2 until 4 p.m. So outside of those hours would be a good time to travel. You can anticipate a lot of company. INRIX does anonymous GPS tracking of our roads, and they say that the Belt Parkway in Brooklyn is going to be 146% more traveled than usual. Put that along with the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, the Long Island Expressway, all are going to be very busy, particularly during those hours that I mentioned.
Robert, I want to go back to air travel like you had mentioned before. According to AAA, again, prices for flights up 14% from last year. And as you said, more Americans are flying this year than in 2021, but the percentage of air travelers, it's the lowest since 2012. Are more people opting for like nearcations where they can stay a little closer to home?
Well, it's interesting. In looking at the top destinations for those who are making bookings through AAA, and AAA is one of the largest leisure travel agencies in the country, they're going to Bermuda, the Bahamas. Alaska is number 3, followed by Orlando and Jamaica. So those are locations that are pretty far afield. And I know that bookings are very strong through the rest of the summer on into the fall and the winter for folks that want to go to Europe, particularly Rome, London, Paris, and Germany, which is very popular for river cruises. The restrictions on having to have a negative COVID test when you return to the United States being lifted has led to a surge in those who are making plans to fly overseas. And those destinations, I think, are proof positive that folks are still flying, maybe not in the percentages that we saw before, but they're still taking a trip.
The numbers are starting to slowly creep back. That European travel for the month of August especially really picking up.
Yeah, it really is. And it's interesting because folks are doing those kind of things. And it looks like they're also very interested in seeing the domestic destinations, especially theme parks. Orlando is a long drive. Some folks are making it, but also Anaheim is very popular because of those mouse ears.
Yeah, so in addition to the high ticket prices, now we also have these flight cancellations. What should travelers expect if they're heading to the airport in the next few days?
Well, they need to anticipate, to be prepared for these things happening. It's best to schedule your flight for early in the morning and get there for 2 hours ahead of time if it's a domestic flight and 3 hours ahead of time if it's an international flight. Make sure you have the airline's app on your phone. That way, if anything happens, you can be alerted immediately. It's good to work with a travel agent so that you can make that phone call in case something happens, to make alternative arrangements, and have trip insurance. Now, there might be different restrictions on what might happen if your flight gets canceled, but generally, if you have that trip insurance, you'll have some recompense. If something happens, you might have to stay at a hotel or something like that. So it's good to have those things in place. Keep those tips in mind. Hopefully, you've already made your reservations right now. If you haven't made them yet, if something is available, it's probably going to be very, very expensive, but it might be possible. Again, check with that travel agent.
Robert Sinclair from AAA Northeast, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. And for more information on what's happening around our area this 4th of July, you can visit our website, cbsnewyork.com. Lots of options for the holiday.